It was last November when Jon Stewart promised on his show he would come here and answer my questions. After months of evasion, disconnected phone numbers, and press agents saying, "Who are you again?" it appears he finally ran out of excuses. And so, Jon Stewart, welcome to Fox News Sunday.
Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate it. I just want to say, as a viewer, I can't tell you how disappointed I am that you would sully a program of this integrity, of this quality, with a presence such as Jon Stewart. It really,
sort of a Groucho Marx saying you don't want to be a member of a club that
believe
would have
me, you will be reading on air my angry email about the fact that you had me on.
How does it feel to be in the belly of the beast?
Is this the belly?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize you were in the belly. I thought there was a slightly different appendage that was down here, but this is nice. This is, I told you as I first came in, beautifully climate controlled, an ease of parking for a New Yorker. This is,
Have you gotten validated yet?
I got my parking, let me see if I still have it. I got my parking validated. I will ask you this, and I don't know if this is a metaphor for Washington bureaucracy, but if somebody here could explain to me why New York Avenue becomes Massachusetts Avenue for no apparent reason without making a turn, I would really appreciate that.
We're not allowed to tell you
With
that.
a
Now,
K
look,
Street
have you checked out the mugs?
Yeah, they're very nice.
Do you see what it says on the inside of the mugs?
Can I read it out loud? It's somewhat anti-Semitic. Do you want me to read it?
Fair and balanced. Yes.
Yeah. I like the fact
how about we toast and we both take a big drink out of our mugs?
You know, it's interesting that the mug itself
No,
is...
drink, no talking, just drink it. Drink the water.
Why do you want me to drink it?
Just, please.
It's just interesting that you want me to drink it. Why don't you have a taste of this first?
I'm drinking it myself.
Yeah, but we could have different waters.
Well, come on.
I've seen this in the spy movies.
You wouldn't be scared of this?
All right.
Not a sip. There you go. Well, and while you're drinking, you love to take shots.
Do I have typhoid now? What did you do to me?
No.
All right.
You might want a little more, but you love to take shots at Fox News.
Yes, I do.
Over the years, you have called us, and we're going to put this on the screen because this is heavy stuff. A biased organization relentlessly promoting an ideological agenda under the rubric of being a news organization.
Rubric.
And, yeah, I actually think it was slightly the wrong use of the word rubric.
Was it really?
A relentless, agenda-driven, 24-hour news opinion propaganda delivery system.
Yeah.
Where do you come up with this stuff?
It's actually quite easy when you feel it. You got to feel it in your soul, you know. You got to really just lay it out there, as it were there. So are you suggesting you're impressed with how well I describe things, or I'm not sure what you like the explicit and specific nature of it?
Well, here's the deal. Are you willing to say the same thing about the mainstream media, about ABC, CBS, NBC, Washington Post, New York Times? Would you say the same thing about them, that they are, in your words, a propaganda delivery system relentlessly pushing a liberal agenda? No,
I wouldn't say that.
Why not?
Because I don't think they are. I think you are. Fox News is much more reactive in the sense that even somewhat like my show, you know, the idea, I guess I would say this. MSNBC is attempting that. I think they've looked at your business model and they've seen the success of it. And I think they're attempting to be a more activist organization.
You don't think the New York Times is a liberal organization?
Now,
pushing a liberal agenda?
The New York Times, no. I think that they are to a certain extent. Do I think they're relentlessly activist? No. In a purely liberal partisan way? No, I don't. Well, I think Fox is a very special...
the shutters to go from your eyes, because I am going to prove it to you in the next few minutes.
Oh, well, okay. Then I'm excited about that.
Well, here we go.
Can I tell you this? I love to learn. But do you really... So you believe that Fox News is exactly the ideological equivalent of NBC News?
I think we're the counterweight.
You believe that?
I think that they have a liberal agenda, and I think we tell the other side of the story. But since this is my show, I'm asking the question.
You're absolutely right. I apologize.
Sarah Palin.
But I won't get my parking unvalidated.
No. You're going to get out of here for free.
I still get to park here for free.
Absolutely. Such a deal.
All right. You're a good man.
You made fun of the fact that the New York Times and the Washington Post, when this document dump of 24,000 emails of Sarah Palin was released, and they got so excited about it, they asked their readers, can help us go through these 24,000 documents. How do you explain the fact that they would do that? They would ask their readers to help them go through the Palin emails, inconsequential as they turned out to be, but they never said, help us go through the 2,000 pages of the Obama health care bill.
Because I think their bias is towards sensationalism and laziness. I wouldn't say it's towards a liberal agenda. And I think
you don't think maybe they went a little easier on the Obama health care bill?
Oh, I think they went easier on the Obama health care bill in the same way they went easier on the Levin-Coburn financial disaster study. I think that the emails, A, they're in Twitter type, so it's a lot easier to go through. B, it's light fluff, so it's absolutely within the wheelhouse. I mean, if your suggestion is that they are relentlessly partisan, then why haven't they gone and backed away from Weiner? Now they've jumped into the Weiner pool with such delight and such relish because the bias
Some
of
things are indefensible.
The bias of the mainstream media. Oh, I'm not saying it's defensible, but the bias of the mainstream media is towards sensationalism, conflict, and laziness.
Well, okay.
So if your suggestion is it's purely about it, you've proved very little by suggesting that the Sarah Palin emails were
just getting
embraced. No, I appreciate that.
You take your own shot. Recently at Sarah Palin, you compared her video of her One Nation bus tour to a certain commercial. Let's take a look.
Valtrex.
As the tour rolls on,
stopping at historic places like Gettysburg,
and then to Philadelphia to see the Liberty Bell.
You know what's cool, man? The way they had reporters finishing each other's sentences. Where have I seen that technique before?
I have genital herpes,
and I try to be careful.
Very careful.
Very careful.
Sarah Palin and her herpes drug? Really?
Yeah, as a technique for the commercial? So you're saying that by comparing the technique that she used in her video to a technique used in a herpes commercial,
you were not making a political comment?
You really think that's a political comment?
Yes.
You're insane.
Really?
Yeah, here's the difference between you and I. I'm a comedian first. My comedy is informed by an ideological background. There's no question about that. But the thing that you will never understand, and the thing that in some respects conservative activists will never understand, is that Hollywood, yeah, they're liberal, but that's not their primary motivating force. I'm not an activist. I'm a comedian.
All right.
And my comedy is informed by ideology. There's no question about that. But I'm not an ideologue.
I want to thank you for saying that because Baltimore Sun TV critic David Zurawik, put it up on the screen, says that is your dodge. Stewart is never held accountable in his media criticism, is he? When he is wrong, he goes into the tap dance of saying he's only a comedian and shouldn't be taken seriously.
Let's talk about that. When did I say to you, I'm only a comedian? I said I'm a comedian first. That's not only. Being a comedian is harder than what you do. What I do is much harder. I put material through a process, a comedic process. I don't just sit and narrate.
But you are a political commentator. The comedy has a political...
Some of it.
Well,
but it is comedy first. But let me say
Can I give you another example?
No, because I want to deal with this. Let's deal with it.
Let's
talk about it.
I'm going to do that.
I want to find out why you say that.
Here's your take on GOP presidential candidate Herman Cain.
Beautiful. Where is it?
Well, that's why I'm going to only allow small bills. 3 pages. You don't have time to read that one over the dinner table.
If I am president, treaties will have to fit on the back of a cereal box. From now on, the State of the Union address will be delivered in the form of a fortune cookie. I am Herman Cain, and I do not like to read.
You planning a remake of Amos and Andy?
Why don't you do you want to show me doing all the voices for all the other people that we do? Do you want to see my New York voice? My Chinese guy voice? Are you suggesting that you and I are the same? Are you suggesting that... What am I at my highest aspiration, and what are you at your highest aspiration? Tell me.
Honestly, I think you want to be a political player.
You are wrong. You're dead wrong. I appreciate what you're saying. Do I want my voice heard? Do I want my voice heard? Absolutely. That's why I got into comedy.
I mean,
that's why
you're
I do
not
what
Jerry
I do.
Seinfeld.
No. I do comedy. What am I at my highest aspiration? Who am I?
I think...
Am I Edward R. Murrow or am I Mark Twain? At my highest aspiration.
Oh, of those two, Mark Twain.
Right.
But
so has
Mark
that existed?
Twain had a lot of political impact.
But was that his main thrust? Am I an activist in your mind, an ideological partisan activist?
Yeah.
Okay, then I disagree with you.
Okay.
I absolutely disagree with you that that's the case.
I think you're
and
pushing...
I don't think...
And I think you take shots at although I think it's mostly to maintain credibility and you're not as comfortable with it,
Let
you
me put
take
it this
shots
way.
at Obama and at the liberals.
Here's what I
you
imagine
like
is
to
going
make
through your
fun
mind.
of conservatives.
You can't understand, because of the world you live in, that there is not a designed ideological agenda on my part to affect partisan change, because that's the soup you swim in. And I appreciate that, and I understand it. It reminds me of, in ideological regimes, they can't understand that there is free media other places because they receive marching orders. And if you want me to go through Bill Salmon's emails and...
how do you explain me?
Oh, I think you do a nice job, and I've told you that on the show. I think you're one of the most interesting
Do you think
things.
I get marching orders?
I think that you are here, in some respects, to bring a credibility and an integrity to an organization that might not otherwise have it without your presence. So you are here as a counterweight to Hannity, let's say, or you are here as a counterweight to Glenn Beck, because otherwise it's just pure talk radio and it doesn't establish the type of political play that it wants to be. But I understand that.
Wait.
But for you to suggest, I want to stay on this because this is important.
No.
But
you sound like Newt Gingrich during the CNN debate.
Am I dodging you? Am I dodging you by saying I'm just a comedian?
Here is the question. Here is the question. And I think there are plenty of examples. Let me just give you another example of this isn't you. This is the mainstream media.
Okay.
Because we look for examples of liberal bias, of no partisan agenda. I'm
not suggesting there's no liberal bias in the media, but you're suggesting that there is an equivalence of Fox News and ABC. And I think that's absolutely silly.
Here's Diane Sawyer. Diane Sawyer leading her program last year announcing the new immigration law. Take a look.
If a stranger walking down the street or riding the bus does not seem to be a U.S. citizen, is it all right for the police to stop and question him? Well, today the governor of Arizona signed a law that requires police to do just that.
But that isn't what the law requires them to do. In fact, the law says the only way that you can stop somebody is as part of a lawful enforcement stop. You can't just say, hey, you're walking down the street exactly as she suggested. It has to be because there's a broken taillight or they're loitering or they're doing something else. Don't you think she should have mentioned that?
Sure. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think we should have more full context and more of the types of things that you're talking about. But I don't understand how that's purely a liberal or conservative bias. That's, like I said, sensationalist and somewhat lazy. But I don't understand how that's partisan. And I don't think
you don't think it's partisan to bash the Arizona law and to mischaracterize what it did.
First of all, if that's a bash, then that is the mildest form of bash. It's a form of subtle misinformation. Let me tell you exactly.
Can I give you another example?
No. Let me just jump in real quick.
When did this stopping our show?
You can give me another example when I give you my feeling about the context of what that is. Yesterday there was the Wiener press conference. Every single one of the 24-hour news networks. 24-hour news networks are built for one thing, and that's 9/11. And the type of gigantic news event that the type of apparatus that exists in this building and exists at the other 24 news hours is perfectly suited to cover. In the absence of that, they're not just going to say there's not that much that's urgent or important or conflicted happening today. So we are going to gin up. We are going to bring forth more conflict and more sensationalism because we want you to continue watching us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when the news doesn't necessarily warrant that type of behavior. So here's my example of what news bias is in my mind. 3 networks, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, are going live to the Nancy Pelosi news conference because they are sure, coming on the heels of Anthony Weiner resigning, that she is going to make some sort of incredible statement about, I'm disappointed in Anthony Weiner about it. So they're all locked on it. And the whole time there's hand-wringing. Oh, I can't believe we got to go and do this. The American people don't care about this. They care about jobs. They care about the economy. That's what the American people care about. We're about to go live to Speaker Pelosi. She's about to do that. She steps up to the podium and says what? I'm not going to comment about Anthony Weiner. I'm going to talk about jobs, and I'm going to talk about the economy. And what did everybody do?
Left.
So what's your proof again about the partisan agenda and what I do? That's the embarrassment. The embarrassment is that I'm given credibility in this world because of the disappointment that the public has in what the news media does.
I don't think
not because I have an ideological
I don't think
agenda.
our viewers are the least bit disappointed with us. I think our viewers think finally they're getting somebody who tells the other side of the story.
And
One more
who is
example.
the most consistently misinformed media viewers? The most consistently misinformed? Fox. Fox viewers. Consistently. Every poll.
Can we talk about your network?
Yes.
Can we talk about Comedy Central? Because
be delighted to.
Case in point.
All right.
How did you physically have sex with Tommy Lee? He has a huge. If he put that thing in front of my face, I wouldn't know whether I should it or feed it a peanut.
It's not exactly Masterpiece Theater you're working for.
You're damn right, and I think I am perfectly placed. I think that is where
you're the counterbalance to that.
No.
Do you know that I had to go through
to
prepare for this? I had to go through episodes of South Park. I had to see Cartman's Mom is a Slut, parts 1 and 2.
Can I tell you something
I had to
about
look
South
at
Park,
Reno 911.
Can I tell you something about those guys? They are brilliant guys. The South Park guys are brilliant guys, and their ability to satirize.
Okay, but the next time you're sitting there haranguing Fox, just remember, that's where you work.
No, I completely agree with. I don't even know what you're talking about. Are you suggesting you and I are the same? That's what I'm trying to get my head around.
No, I'm not suggesting we're the same.
So why should I work?
I am suggesting that there's good stuff and bad stuff. I'm suggesting that there is bias and that you only tell part of the story.
Oh, there's no question that I don't tell the full story. I mean, I don't disagree with that. But I don't not tell the full story based on a purely ideological partisan agenda. That's my point. My point isn't my stuff doesn't stink.
I think your agenda is more out there, and you're pushing more of an agenda than you pretend to.
I disagree with you. I think that I'm pushing comedy, and my ideological agenda informs it at all times. Now, that agenda or my ideology is at times liberal, at times can lean more conservative, but it's about absurdity. It's about absurdity and it's about corruption. And that is the agenda that we push. It is an anti-corruption, anti-lack of authenticity. It's anti-contrivance. And if I see that more in one area than I do in another, well then, but I will defend every single thing that we put on that show. And I'm not dodging you in any way by suggesting that our main thrust is comedic. And that
I will defend everything that we put on this show.
Oh, and by the way, how often do you see your show on my show?